If you want to chime in what's happening to your favorite KFAN shows, you can. You make your voice heard on the Brad Sean Bryant KFAN text line. So let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard text messages and data rates apply.
Hey, Ted, you're in St. Paul. Someone's got to tell that last talkbacker that those guys put their breezers on one leg at the time, just like the rest of us. USA! USA! USA!
That was a committee. That wasn't just one guy. He looked at the guy in the passenger seat. Hey, do this with me. And they got the USA chant going. I like it. We're getting fired up. Giving away free tickets to see the Minnesota Wild in action. They will be back at Grand Casino Arena at some point. I promise. I know it feels like forever. They go in on a 5-game win streak, and now we just sit and wait. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of other fun activities taking up our time, including the Winter Olympics. We also have Gopher hockey, so much to cover. So who better to talk to than our buddy Pat Micheletti out there in South Bend. Pat, that's Brett Blakemore. I'm Kevin Fallness. Welcome, as always, to KFAN.
Hello, guys. A little beyond the pond a day early.
Very much so, yeah. And it's a great time to do it, to kind of infiltrate the KFAN airwaves and bring a little beyond the pond to the mainstream media. PA, God love him, will do his best, but he loves to talk football.
Hey, he needs a day off, right?
He needs a day off, so he gets a chance to relax a little bit. And meanwhile, we get to jam a little hockey down people's throats over the course of the next 3 hours, and we've already done that for 1 hour, and you and I are going to do that here along with Brett Blakemore here for the next 20 minutes or so. So very much looking forward to that. How was the trip to Notre Dame?
It was great. Yeah, in fact, we got dropped off by the women, who then went on to Columbus for their series against Ohio State. So yeah, it was good. It was good, and just getting ready for tonight against the Notre Dame team that is really. You think the Gophers have struggled? Notre Dame has really struggled this year. So hopefully the Gophers can pick up some points this weekend.
Extended pregame tonight?
I don't know. Yeah, we always do. We always have like a half-hour pregame show.
All right.
So, Wally and I will banter back and forth and hear from Bob and get ready for the game.
Awesome. So we'll assume the broadcast starts at 5:30, puck drop at 6 o'clock from South Bend. You can hear Wally Shaver along with Pat Micheletti on Twin Cities News Talk, 103.5 FM and AM 1130. The rematch tomorrow starting at 4:30, puck drops at 5.
Yeah, and I would say for the people, the game will be televised on Peacock, and so a lot of people may or may not have access to that. So, mute TV anyway, right? Tonight,
you
and
always
tune in to Wally and I.
Always hashtag mute TV. I do have
always mute. I was waiting for you to do that. Thank you.
It was coming at some point. No, don't worry. Yeah. I usually like to say mute TV when you're on TV because that's a better bit. But I won't. I will throw out the mute TV tonight, especially since you're going to be on the radio. I will tell you, I plunked down the 12.
Some of us keep working. We don't get this long 3-week break for you.
I know it. It's amazing. I've watched so many youth hockey games over the course, even though it just started. It feels like it's been a great. I've been able to go and watch my high school.
You know what? You deserve it though, because that NHL, the grind of 82 games is a lot. It's a lot for doing 40 some that I do with the Gophers.
Yeah.
And so I completely understand.
I've watched
well-deserved break, Kevin.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far. A lot of people do a lot of work, and I'm not one of them. But it is nice to get a chance to watch my kids. I've watched a lot of their games online through the magic of the stuff that people can do online these days to watch it and take me right inside those rinks. But to actually be there to watch the conclusion of the regular season has been great, and we got playoffs coming up, so it's a good time to be a hockey fan. Let's start with the Golden Gophers, since you are there in Notre Dame. You mentioned tough season all the way around, not only for Notre Dame, but also the Golden Gophers. 10-18-1 overall, 6-12 in the Big Ten, and just 7-10-1 at 3M Arena at Mariucci. How would you sum up this season to this point? Disappointing, I think, for the Gopher fans. How about for you and the folks inside that building?
Well, the inability to gain any traction throughout the year has been a big problem. For example, they played great against a really good Wisconsin team, swept them at home, and you think, okay, this is where they start to build momentum. It's that time of the year. The younger guys are starting to get it. And then, and you get Ohio State at home, a team that is below you in the standings. You think you can make some more hay, and then you lay an egg and you get swept at home. So, it's been frustrating. It's been disappointing. There's been some bright spots. It's just a matter of the youth that they have on their team is and they're good players, but there's that other side of the fact of being good players. You have to be really strong mentally upstairs, and I think that's hurt them a little bit. Just like for any team, any freshman coming in, learning what it takes to understand that you got to play hard all the time and you got to be ready all the time. And if you're not, you're going to get beat because, that's the life of college hockey. And so I think they've had a difficult time just understanding that. And so you don't know what you're going to get from weekend to weekend, because when you look at them and you watch them when they're on their game, they're pretty good and they can play with anybody. But when they slip just a little, or they're just not quite ready to play on a certain night, they lose. And so that's kind of been the problem for them. And so, we'll see what we get tonight.
Anytime I talk Golden Gophers, whether it's on the radio or whatever, I get hammered with texts, I get hammered with tweets, and I'm sure it has to be tenfold for you. There's a portion of the fan base that's getting restless here. What would you say to that faction about the future for this team? Because it feels like this year it's probably out of reach. This is a building year, all that good stuff, a lot of young talent. But is there hope for the seeds to sprout going forward in the years to come, including next year as we move past this one?
Well, the expectations for fans, and they're great fans, and they get frustrated. And the expectation is every year that you got to win it, or you got to be at the top. And, sometimes you have down years, and I'm not making excuses for them. Bob fully admitted that he didn't go to the portal and go after the prize possessions, if you will, the Gavin McKennas, those type guys. He made a commitment to the guys that he recruited, that they were going to come in this year. And if he had gone to the portal more than he did this past year, a lot of those guys would have went back to junior. And he committed to them that he was going to bring them in. He brought them in, and with that, you're going to get growing pains, and that's what they're kind of going through this year. And and I understand the frustration out of the fans. I mean, we're all frustrated, right? Because we all want them, to be at the top and contending. And it's a down year. Now, that being said, they have proven that they can play, with the best teams in college hockey. They beat Denver. They played Michigan State tough. They beat Wisconsin. They had a tight one with Michigan. And when it gets the playoff format has changed this year in the Big Ten, where it's a single elimination. And so you never know in those type of games, what you're going to get. So, they will have a chance. They'll have to play on the road, in the opening round of the playoffs, and, maybe they can pull an upset. So, who knows? So don't give up yet. I'm not giving up yet, but yes, it's going to be a tall task.
Hopefully, the turnaround begins tonight at Notre Dame. Again, a 5:30 pregame. Puck drops at 6 o'clock. Wally Shaver, Pat Micheletti on Twin Cities News Talk, 103.5 FM and AM 1130. We've got some business we got to take care of, Patrick, earlier this week. And I know you said we should let it die, but I'm getting hammered now with text messages at 64686, and they want some clarification on a conversation that we had on Beyond the Pond that Dan Barrero brought up with Lou Nanny.
You got ripped on Beyond the Pond. I didn't hear it. Would you ask Louie about, when he was a North Star GM, not letting Micheletti play in the Olympics and making him play in the AHL instead? It was discussed on Beyond the Pond this weekend. Did you deprive Micheletti of his Olympic dream?
Not that I know of. I don't know why I would, but if I did, then I did.
If I did, then I did. So what's your recollection of how that went down in 1988?
In Louis' defense, he was the general manager of our, Minnesota North Stars.
Yep.
And I can certainly understand, it's at the end of training camp, and he's got a lot of things going on, right? He's got to, continue to select what team is going to be up with the North Stars and what guys are going down. So he had a lot on his plate. And so I certainly understand if he doesn't recall that conversation. And, that's the way it is, right? He's a busy guy, and I understand. So it's, is what it is.
So Dan asked me about this yesterday, like telling my side of the story. And so then I got text into the text line saying, well, the pros weren't allowed at the Olympics in 1988.
Yes,
Maybe he was thinking of something.
They were in 1988. That was
yes, sir.
The first year that they were allowed to play in the Olympics. Hence, the conversation I had with Dave Peterson, who asked me if I would want to join if he could get me released from the North Stars for that year, for that Olympic year.
Yep.
And, and it didn't work out, and that was fine. Actually, it ended up being better for me because if I would have gone with the Olympic team that year, that would have knocked me out of getting or having the ability to play for the Italian Olympic team, which I was a part of, although I didn't play because I got hurt 5 days before the 92 games that were held in Albertville. And so I couldn't play in the Olympics, even though I was on the Italian team.
My question would be, how are you not in Milan right now watching these Olympics in action? You know Italy like the back of your hand. This would seem like it'd be right in your wheelhouse.
And in fact, Kevin, you remember, I hope you remember, our goaltender in Italy was a guy by the name of Jim Corsi, who developed the Corsi, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, and he played for years over there. He played in the National Hockey League. In fact, I think he was with the North Star organization for a while, but he played in Quebec and I think a couple other places. Anyway, he was one of the flag bearers, for the Olympic torch over in Italy, and represented, the Italian team over there. And so that was, it was, really nice and a great goaltender. And he ended up being the goalie coach for the Buffalo Sabres and the St. Louis Blues, and ended his career doing that.
We know what you did at the University of Minnesota. Most of these fans are very well versed in your time there on the U of M campus. But your numbers over there in Italy, I'm looking it up on Hockey DB, 89 to 92. You had 46 goals one year, 34, 81 points, 92 points. You were prolific over there, but it feels like, to me, the experiences off the ice would have made that even better than anything you could have done on the ice there in Italy.
Yeah, I loved it over there. I spent 4 years there, and I actually, if I hadn't got injured, which, that injury right before the Olympics ended my career. And, I could have played another probably 10 years over there. And, it was great. I got to play as an Italian because I was able to get my Italian passport. So I wasn't counted on as an import and each team was allowed 2 imports. We had Brad Shaw, who is coaching in the National Hockey League, great defenseman. But we had a lot of guys, American and Canadians, who were able to get their passports. So we had I think 14 guys on the team I played on that were either Canadian or American who played as Italian. So it was a lot of fun over there.
I know you're very busy in South Bend, but can I squeeze in a break here and then come back and talk a little Olympics and maybe a wild Olympic break as well?
Absolutely.
Outstanding. Let's do that then. Let's put Pat Micheletti on hold, and then when we continue, we can get into what's going on with the Winter Olympic teams, especially the men's hockey squad that'll be in action again tomorrow and throughout this weekend, coming off a nice victory yesterday. I'll give you an update on the Czechs. They lead France 2-0 now. 3:55 left to go in the first. Amongst the goal scorers, Martin Nietzsche. He scored the first goal of the hockey game from Pasternak and Hronek, so there is Olympic hockey going on here for the men. Keep those talkbacks coming on that free iHeartRadio app. Also, text us 64686. We'll get to some of those when we continue next with Pat Micheletti on KFAN.
Before we go, the fan wants to give you a shot to win bonus bucks for the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is credits. The keyword credits. KFAN.com. Keyword credits. We all had one teacher who believed in us. Well, you can show your gratitude with Thank You Teacher. It's powered by Donors Choose. Nominate a public school teacher to win $5,000 for their classroom. This week, we want to shout out Emily Larson, teaches at Stillwater Area High School. You can nominate a teacher to thank today. iHeartRadio.com/teachers. iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
Hey, Kevin and Double B. I think for Team USA, it's got to be gold medal game or bust for them. And as good as Canada is, let's ride a hot goalie into that game and then just see what happens. As far as the Wild go, you got to make it out of the first round regardless of the opponent. Fans deserve it. This team should be good enough. And to help that along the way, Bill Guerin, please get a couple centermen that can win faceoffs. Let's win some faceoffs.
Fantastic talkback effort. We're giving away tickets to the first 3 home games when the Wild do resume in the month of March. There will be hockey in St. Paul once again featuring your Minnesota Wild, and you could get those by just texting us 64686. You can also use that free iHeart Talkback feature on the free iHeart Radio app. So good luck to you and yours. Pat Micheletti joins us again, part 2 from South Bend. Patrick, I'm really enjoying the Olympics for everything that's going on. I've watched more Olympics this year than I think maybe I ever have. The drone footage is fantastic as they're going down the moguls and the big jumps and all the other good stuff. But of course, the hockey's on another level. What have you thought of the men's Olympic run thus far in the very early goings?
I love the Olympics. Just to see all of these athletes just pour everything into it, and they love being there. They love representing their country, and I love to watch it. Yeah, I was up, Kevin, at 3 a.m. watching the curling team. Unfortunately lose today to Canada, and that's 2 in a row for them. But I just love it.
If you were up that early, did you happen to watch Finland and Sweden? The Finns got off the mat, beat the Swedes 4-1. I saw Philip Gustafsson made 20 saves. I did not get up this morning to watch that hockey game, so I'm just curious what Gustafsson looked like. Do you have a scouting report?
Well, I did not watch it. I was watching the curling,
okay.
And then I was keeping an eye on it. But Sweden's in trouble now. I mean, it's going to be difficult for them to get to the medal round, I think. And it was a big win for Finland. So, those two will be battling it out, to probably get that, depending upon what Slovakia does. So it's going to be one of those 2 teams that probably won't make the medal round. And so, I like Sweden. I really thought Sweden, and they're still in it. They're not out of it yet by any stretch. But, I picked Sweden to be right up there, potentially going for gold. So, we'll have to see how that all plays out.
Well, I mean, going in that if you were doing the power rankings, it would be Canada, U.S., Sweden, Finland. I mean, by all thoughts going into the tournament, that would be the power rankings going in, right? So Sweden, if they don't finish with a medal, that would be not great for them. That would be falling real short.
Be a big disappointment. And I thought the Finns really. They miss Barkov, right? Not being in their lineup. And all those teams they're all really good, and they all could win gold. To be quite honest with you, it's really tight. And Canada look great. I think all the teams, their first game, whether they're nervous or just get used to playing with everybody, started a little slow. Maybe Canada didn't, but even the U.S., it took them a while to get going, but they look good. It's really, I couldn't pick a team that's going to win the gold right now. It's that tight.
Let's go back to the Americans taking on Latvia yesterday. And like you said, it was the tale of two hockey games. The first half of the game, the Americans probably played better, but they had 2 goals waved off. It looked like, man, they were going to be clutching the stick. It all came correct there in the second half of that hockey game, and led by Brock Nelson, who got burned a couple of times early on and then came through with a pair of goals. It's hard not to root for Brock Nelson, even if he is a member of the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, he played great, and he's a veteran. He plays smart. He gets to the right spots. You look what he did on that second goal that he scored on the pass from Jack Hughes. They were going in. It turned out to be almost a 5-on-3, but he circled around, came back, got in an area where he could find the soft spot, and Hughes fed him perfectly, and it was pretty much a tap-in goal. But he's just a really, really smart player, and I mean, and he's having a great year. He's got 30 goals already, and I don't know if Colorado thought they were going to get that out of Brock Nelson, when they re-signed him, for him to have 30 goals. It's remarkable, and so, yeah, he played great yesterday. And I think a big key, play in that game yesterday, Kevin, was when Matt Boldy blocked that shot from going in the net. At that point, the U.S., as you recall, had the goal disallowed, and then Latvia came down and had a chance to take a 2-1 lead, and Matt Boldy makes a great play to block that shot, and then the U.S. kind of found their game after that and ended up 5-1.
So when we last talked on Beyond the Pond last Saturday, we talked about the line combinations, and it didn't sound like you were a fan of Eichel in between the two Tkachuk brothers and Boldy playing on the line with Gensel and Matthews. How'd you think of the top 6 yesterday, at least?
Well, sometimes you are proven wrong or say the wrong things. and I like the Gensel line, with Boldy and Matthews and the Tkachuks with Eichel. They seem to fit really well. And so, going off yesterday, it was looked pretty darn good to me. I'm glad that Dylan Larkin is in the middle, because I think he's going to be a key when they play Canada and going up against whether it be McDavid or McKinnon. I think there's a lot. If you looked at the defensive pairs yesterday, they were all over the place. Sometimes Boldy was with Hughes, and sometimes he was with Slavin. And so, I think they're still trying to, figure that part out. But I really do think, the key for the Americans is their decor. It is really, really good, and I think better than any decor in that Olympics. So, I really believe that is going to be the driver for the U.S., going forward.
Their back end is just elite. The defensive pairings that we could talk about, and plus the goaltending compared to anybody else. I just think that that's where they should shine. Where Canada has the offensive firepower, it's not like the Americans are completely dwarfed by the Canadians, but their defensive pairings and what they got in goal is great. We talked a lot about the possibility of Hughes and Faber being locked up on the blue line because of how well they play here in Minnesota with the Wild. Not the case. They're putting Hughes with McAvoy, Slavin with Faber. Are you okay with that?
Well, I am, but as I said yesterday, there were times Hughes and Faber were together. So I think Mike Sullivan has that ability to, knowing that those guys have played together. It's not like putting two guys out there who haven't played together before. So I think he can do that, switch the pairings up a little bit as needed. But when they do play Canada, I expect Slavin, Faber, to be that shutdown pair, against McDavid or McKinnon or Crosby or whoever they have to shut down, at a particular time. So, we'll have to see how it plays out. And then when it comes to the goaltending now, the hot rumor is Swayman is going to play in the next game. I don't know if I like that, Kevin.
I don't like that.
You selected your guy, and, I think, even for a guy like, Hellebuck, he's got to get used to playing with the decor that he has too, and where they want pucks and all of that, and how he's handling pucks in a little smaller rink. And so, I would go, if you made that determination that he's going to be the guy, then play him. And, if he falters, then you can make the change. But, we'll have to see how it plays out tomorrow.
How about those Canadians, Patrick? I look down the middle. Look at this. McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, Horvat. Those are your four center icemen. When I talk about, an embarrassment of riches, that's where it starts with them. And then you throw Celebrini in on the action. Mark Stone, I thought, had a great game yesterday. Of course, you got the pest that is Brad Marchand. But that middle ice position, man, for the Canadians is just unbelievably loaded.
Well, and Binnington, posted the shutout. I think when the U.S. plays Canada, they have to get to Binnington. They have to get in his head. They have to talk to him, and get him off his game, because it's going to come down to goaltending when those two teams play. There's no question in my mind. And if they can get Binnington off his game, I think that is going to be a real factor in the outcome of that game.
Meanwhile, I should mention, too, when we're talking about results from the men's tournament at the Winter Olympics, how about the Slovaks with the wild prospect, Halavai? Holy smokes, Pat. What he did against Finland, 30-some saves, I think almost 40 saves, and that's the Wild probably, I would have thought he was our fourth guy on the depth chart, but maybe he's rising up the ranks considering what he's doing over there.
I have to be honest with you, Kevin. I didn't even, I knew they had a goal. I didn't know who it was. And lo and behold, it's him. And boy, oh boy, did he open some eyes, right?
Yep.
And Bill Guerin was at that game watching him. And, now he's thinking, you know what? We may have another guy here. And that plays into the part of, maybe I can make a deal, and maybe I hate to say it, but his name's been out there. That brings Volstead into play potentially. So, you certainly find out things in tournaments like this. Now, we'll have to see how he continues to play. On the big stage. That was one game. You certainly don't go off of one game, but regardless, knowing that you have a potential guy for the future, it bodes well for Minnesota.
I'm surprised if my game report is correct and the Slovaks win over Italy earlier today. Halavai did not play. They went with their other guy, and I don't know who he is. He's not an NHLer, but he was put between the pipes, ended up making 20 saves, and the Slovaks get a 3-2 win over Italy. So just something to watch. My guess is once they come back to action, I don't know when they play again. My guess is Iowa Wild and Wild prospect Sam Halavai will be back between the pipes. Real quick, I do want to get into what's going on with this Wild team. They go into the Olympic break feeling really good about themselves. 5 straight victories, maybe not playing their best hockey, but definitely getting results. How do you feel about this team now with when they do return at the end of February? There's just 24 games left in the regular season.
Well, I feel good about them. And, it's great the way they ended before the break. You always want to end on a good note. We're going to have to see, what happens. I mean, there's a ton of rumors going around about potential guys that they could get. And, we'll see, I think we'll probably see a different team in the next couple weeks. I think there'll be a couple of additions to the team. What they are, none of us know. And so, hopefully they're going to address that center ice position. And I really think that they may add a defenseman. That would be my guess, Kevin. But, in saying that, it's got to be the right guy. The chemistry on this team is really good right now. And so, I'll harken back to the big trade that Chuck Fletcher made with who's the guy they got from Arizona,
Marty Hansel,
the big centerman. I don't know if that was the right fit for that team at the right time. Remember, that team was really going well and heading into the playoffs. And Martin Havlat, right?
Well, Havlat was the one that came well before him.
Hansel, yep. Thank you.
To replace Gaborik.
And it just wasn't the right fit. So, when you make a deal, you got to get a guy that is going to fit into your team, and so we'll have to see what Billy does.
It really feels like it's just a matter of time before Vinny Trocheck ends up on this team. From all the conversations, and he's having fun about joining the Wild picture there in Milan, it feels like that's the way this is breaking. If it ends up, and I'm just speculating, I'm guessing, reading the tea leaves, but if it ends up being Vinny Trocheck as the guy that Bill Guerin adds at the trade deadline, what does he do for this team, and how do you feel about that addition?
Well, I thought he played really well yesterday. He's very aggressive. He can win draws. They call him that 200-foot player. He can play the power play. He kills penalties. He's good. He's good defensively. And so I think he'd be a good get for this team. What do you give up for him? I don't know. Certainly Volsted's not going to be part of that because they have one of the best goaltenders in the National Hockey League in Shesterkin. And so what do you give up? Do you give up a Urov? Do you give up a Stramel? Do you give up a number one? What's the asking price going to be? There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be interested in Trocheck. And so, it all depends what the package is. But yes, he certainly would be an upgrade to this hockey team.
I have very much enjoyed our conversation today, and it whets my appetite.
I can't wait till tomorrow
for tomorrow's Beyond the Pond. And I'm going to leave you with this cliffhanger. I've got a surprise guest at 11 o'clock who both you and Wally know very well, and I think you're going to be extremely excited about him. I don't want to give too many hints away because I think it would give it away.
No prep work, no nothing.
I don't think you need prep work for this guy. Yeah, you won't need prep work for this guy. This is a person that you both know very well, and this will be my only hint. He's a former Golden Gopher.
Awesome.
Yeah, you guys will love it. 11 o'clock tomorrow, part of Beyond the Pond, 10 to noon on KFAN. But we will be listening tonight because we're going to mute TV and listen to you and Wally from Notre Dame get the Golden Gopher men's hockey team back on track, Patrick.
Outstanding. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Enjoy the day. Good luck to you and Wally.
Care. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
That's my good friend Pat Micheletti out there in South Bend. Yeah, they're on the air tonight. Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and FM 103.5. Notre Dame and the Gophers, 5:30 pregame, he says. Puck drops just after 6 o'clock. The rematch tomorrow, 5 o'clock in Notre Dame. Let's take a break, and then when we continue, Brett, I think this is what we'll do. We can do Brett Blakemore's Breakaways, but we can also go through a ton of these talkbacks and text messages because I got a lot of them coming in, and we should get some of those on the air because we want to give away some of those Wild tickets. At the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by former Wild goaltender Dwayne Rollison. So this is your opportunity. Fill up the text line 64686. Give us those talkbacks. We're giving away tickets to the next 3 Wild home games coming up in March at Grand Casino Arena. You can't win if you don't play, so give it a shot. And you can get your own tickets at wild.com/tickets. But we're giving away free ones next on The Fan.
Feel the energy of the state of hockey. Minnesota Wild will be back at Grand Casino Arena. You don't want to miss the speed, the hits, the roar of the crowd. You can get your tickets, wild.com/tickets. Wild.com/tickets.
Hey, Tom, Kevin from Delano. Just want to get your thoughts on possibly keeping Wallstedt through the season. I know we're trying to get a top-line center, and, you know, we're looking for that boost going into the postseason, but maybe hanging on to him through the postseason and into next offseason might not be a bad move either. Maybe get more value for him, maybe be able to, you know, get a better player further down the road here. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are, Kevin, don't call me Tom. Of all the names, that's not the one. Welcome back to 9 to Noon. Kevin Fallness in for Paul
Hey,
Allen.
Tom, Kevin.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Kevin. Brett Blakemore here as well. What I'm really jonesing for here, Brett Blakemore, and I know it's coming tomorrow on Beyond the Pond because we do it each and every Saturday on that wonderful hockey show that we do here on FM 100.3 The Fan. I am jonesing for some Brett Blakemore's Breakaways.
It's time for Brett Blakemore's Breakaways.
Kaprizov in alone. Nobody going to catch him. Kaprizov scores!
So good.
And now, Blakemore's Breakaways.
Dangerous to do, but every Saturday we go inside the mind of Brett Blakemore and he gets to just unfurl whatever it might be on top of his head. A lot of the times it's dangerous. But you never know, so let's just throw caution to the wind.
I think dangerous is strong.
It's a little dangerous sometimes. It can be trepidatious, but it's usually fun. And that's what we're all about here. So now if you want to have your battle royale between all the Minnesota mascots, this is your opportunity.
This would be a great time for it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Pat won't go after you.
We already burned it, unfortunately. The talkbacker brings up a good point. Potentially keeping Wallstedt through the season and just holding strong. I wouldn't hate it. I'm certainly not campaigning for Wallstedt to get out of town. I absolutely love him, following him since the draft, and I've believed in him since they've drafted him. But I think if you're going to make a deal, he's got to be in it to grab a big fish.
That is the worrisome part. I understand that he's your one shining prospect that's left along with Charlie Stramel. The problem that I have with that is that you need 2 good goaltenders. There's still 24 games left to play in the regular season, and they're playing just about every other night. And as good as Philip Gustafson has been through the first 50-some games of this year, he can't carry the water for 24 consecutive games and then be your guy into the playoffs. Now, does Marc-Andre Fleury alleviate that? I still don't know how much of that is fact, how much of that is fiction, how much of that is wishful thinking. But that would stem the tide a little bit. But man, there's such a good upside for Jesper Wallstedt. He comes out of the draft as the best goaltender in the world, not in the National Hockey League. And definitely took a step backwards last year for how things went. But I think has proven that he can play on this level on a consistent basis, and I'd hate to give up on that. But if it's the opportunity to get past the Dallas Stars, the Colorado Avalanche, and solidify this roster, I think you got to look at it. But that would be tough. What do you think?
Typically, well, I'll go into it here. I think they should trade him only if it's a big, big fish that they're getting back. And I always not always, but I tend to zag when everyone zigs in this fan base.
Yep.
And because I just don't, sometimes I just think a little bit different. I have the esoteric wild approach. And I think that Trocheck is a good player. I think he's on this U.S. team for a reason. I think he does a good job. And if you listen to Pat last segment, he says, 200-foot player, can win faceoffs, can kill penalties. I'm here to tell you, that's not what the Wild need to get over the top. It's just not. We've got Eric Sinek, who's a great 200-way player. We've got, Hartman can play in the defensive zone. Yurov can play in the defensive zone. Nico Sturm can kill penalties. We've got bottom six centers galore. We've got a bunch of them. So I don't think Trocheck is this. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not saying boy, here comes the savior. Here comes the Knights of the Vale over the corner to help Jon Snow. No. It would be another classic Bill Guerin. We'd have 5 bottom 6 centers, it feels like. Our top line right now is Hartman, Kaprizov, Zuccarello, which Godspeed. And I know that Kaprizov likes playing with Hartman, but what if you swung big, traded Wallstedt for a Stützle, for Brady Tkachuk, for, wouldn't it be awesome if the Maple Leafs decided they just wanted to tank or not tank, but start rebuilding because they're not very good this year. And Matt Boldy's already playing with Austin Matthews right now. Let me dream.
Yep.
Jack
These are
Hughes.
dreams.
They are dreams, but that is the type of big fish that I'm talking about that would be worth trading Wallstedt for. I don't think Trocheck, again, good player. I'm not saying he's terrible. He's an awful player. I'm just saying we've already got guys who can kill penalties.
What does it take? 6. First of all, you brought up Austin Matthews. You brought up Jack Hughes. Pie in the sky. Awesome. Great.
Big fish.
You're not going to get him for Jesper Wallstedt. So what goes into that package?
I mean, you would have to give probably Stramel. Probably? Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to get rid of Yurov. You might have to. And then you're probably going to throw in a handful of draft picks as well in the first and second round.
So those
you want to win a cup or
I
not?
I got you. Big fish and big dreams. I think that's great. Unfortunately, I think the guys that are available that are more realistic are Vinny Trocheck, Robert Thomas, Nazem Kadri, maybe Charlie Coyle. I just don't see those other guys as being attainable. To be honest, at this point in time, doesn't mean it can't happen. Yeah, I know. Well, but again, if we're talking fantasy hockey, that's different than living in reality where I tend to spend my time.
You know what else was crazy fantasy
Quinn
hockey?
Hughes. I get
trading for Quinn Hughes. No one would have ever suspected the Wild to do that.
And I said this to Pat a couple of weeks ago. If we talked about landing Quinn Hughes at the beginning we would be in this preposterous statement tournament. There's no way that was in anyone's front of mind, and yet somehow Bill Guerin pulled it off. So can any of these not happen? They could happen. It just doesn't seem very realistic. I hope so. I'm with you, my friend.
I'm not even saying it's that will happen. I think the Trocheck thing will happen.
I think so, too.
What I'm saying is I don't think that's a move worthy of A, trading Wallstedt, or B, that gets us over the top.
Yeah.
I think it's a move that it's fine. It's another depth piece, and he'll be good. But we need a big-time player to help offensively. If Kirill's not going one night, what if he gets shut down in the playoffs, and we got to rely on the second line, which, granted, has been great, or rely on depth scoring, and maybe Johansson goes down to the third line, and there's depth scoring there. I just think Trocheck isn't the savior coming over the hill for me. That's all.
Do you think the Wild will have 250 goal scorers this year? Does Boldy make it? 24 games left. Him and Kaprizov both at 32.
They're on pace for it. I don't know if they technically are, mathematically are, but they look. I mean, they were humming, especially the last 5 games, so I'll take it.
I'm excited to see how both of them emerge from the Olympic break on 2 different stratospheres. Boldy still playing at a real high level with a lot of intensity, whereas Kaprizov, I'm sure he's working on doing that whole thing, but for the most part, he's going to come out with a nice, glorious tan, and he's going to be anything but intense coming out of the break. So I just wonder how they both react to completely different situations over the last few weeks.
This might be a better question for Russo, and we could just move on and play the skate sound effect again. Do you have any inside information on where Kaprizov is? I read, and from rumor websites, that he was in Colorado doing high altitude training to get ready for the Avalanche. That's what I The Avalanche thing I made up at the end. But I don't know where he is. I hope he's in the continental U.S.
I'll be perfectly honest. I have zero idea. In all truth, I did exchange a text with a current Wild player about coming on today, and he said, you know what? This person is up to his ears in family business. They're on vacation. Would love to come on, but this isn't the time. He's surrounded by family. I have no idea what Kirill Kaprizov is doing.
And how is Foligno doing these days?
Exactly. I get it. You know what? This is the time. If you're ever going to take a breather in the middle of an NHL hockey season, this is the time to grab that by the horns and really enjoy it, because this has been a grueling. I'm not talking about my situation. I don't compare to even the guys that travel as part of the media, as part of the traveling party. They've had it 10 times worse than me. This isn't about me. This is about the team and the people that travel on a regular basis. What a grind this year has been. So for guys like anyone that's on the roster that's not over in Milan, take the opportunity to heal your bumps and bruises and be ready for that final stretch, because it's going to be awesome.
You mentioned it with Pat. I wanted to get your take on it. I mentioned that Faber and Hughes seem like the shoe-in pair on this U.S. team. Obviously, it's Latvia, and the pool's not going to be great with Denmark and Germany. I understand that. So you're not going to get a real gauge basically until the medal round of real, true competition. Merzlikis is a really good goalie and goaltender, but it's not a chock-full team of NHL. I think Germany's by far the best one you'll play in the prelims. But Slavin and Faber were good in the Four Nations. They were good yesterday. Hughes and McAvoy were good. I don't hate that they went back to these lines, but I was just kind of stunned that they did.
I can't say that I was stunned, but at the same time, seeing what Hughes and Faber have been able to develop over the course of almost 25 games, I don't know what the exact number is, it's been pretty special. And, you saw a little bit of that with Hughes yesterday and playing with McAvoy and whatever other combinations they came up with throughout the course of that hockey game. But I just like the chemistry that Hughes and Faber have developed, and I would have liked to have seen that continue to grow even on that Olympic stage. But you know what? This tournament is far from over. They very well could end up as a pair before it's all said and done. What I don't like is Pat throwing out the possibility of coming back with Swayman. Just ride Hellebuck until he gives you a reason not to. He didn't give you any reason not to pull him from the starter's cage, and nothing official has come from that either. But I'd ride Hellebuck until the wheels come off.
I do think that Ottinger will see the ice at some point.
I think he should.
Yeah, probably Sunday.
Yeah,
would be my guess. So, and local angle as well, which we love.
Swayman. Why Swayman? Blah.
Yeah, exactly. People were arguing that Ottinger should be the starter outright.
You can definitely make that argument. You definitely can make that argument. I mean, without a doubt. Me saying I'd pick Hellebuck, that it's the body of work. It's the fact that he's the
literal body. Guy's huge.
He is, and he's a very good goaltender on a bad team, unfortunately, this year for him. But that's not because of what he does between the pipes. I think it's more his resume than anything else. Plus, he's still a very good goaltender. But to have that in your back pocket, a Jake Ottinger, an opportunity to fill that role when needed, I think that's, again, an embarrassment of riches for the American squad.
Talked about the other Wild players on Team USA, Hughes and Faber. But what about the other one, Matt Boldy? I jokingly mentioned that he's building up chemistry for his future teammate, Austin Matthews, just trying to pray that into existence and throw it into the universe.
Sure.
But it's still fun to see him on a line, another local angle, kind of, with Jake Gensel. It shows that, you mentioned, are they going to get to 50 goals as Matt Boldy? Certainly Team USA thinks highly of him because they're putting him on a prime. I mean, Jack Hughes is on the fourth line on this team.
Yeah.
Kyle Connor's below him as well, who is Winnipeg's guy.
Yeah.
And Matt Boldy is ahead of both of them playing with Austin Matthews. I just think it's fascinating.
He comes into the tournament as one of the hottest goal scorers on the planet, not just on Team USA. So, of course, they're going to put the spotlight on him, and for good reason. It's so fun to watch these guys continue to work, whether it be a Matt Boldy, a Brock Faber, a Quinn Hughes. This would be a fun tournament without any Minnesota Wild representation. But to have three guys as focal points on our favorite team, it's so much fun to watch Team USA. And Matt Boldy, it continues to grow. Like I said, last year and in years prior, he's always been a very good player, but he's been streaky. Now he's an every night guy that you can rely upon. And he's playing on a line with Eck and playing with Johansson. And it's just fun to watch these guys continue to develop.
You mentioned breakaways can get dangerous.
Here we go.
It's not going to get dangerous for me.
That smile is making me nervous.
The program password's coming up later today. The announcement of the matchup happened 49 minutes ago on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw
that. Greg Swedberg against Common and Lil B. And Muss responded with a tweet, as long as at Radio Fallness isn't a part of it.
Richard.
Which then Tenna responds, he's afraid to play you. This is your stand. This is your time to rip and defend yourself for as long as you want.
When it comes to program password, there's only one thing on earth that scares me, and it tends to be my partner, and it's Lil B. Must does not scare me in any way, shape, or form. Now, if this was a trivia contest about 60s country music, that would worry me. If it was a trivia contest about crappy light beer in your garage, that would scare me. He'd have me in both of those categories. Program password, as much as I get lumped into the same cubicle with Muss, it's ridiculous. I'm better than him, and it ain't even close. I am Team USA women compared to him and the rest of the field on the Olympic stage. That's how different it is between me and Muss. He's not very good. I'm decent, and I'm not very good, but I'm better than him. Did I stand up for myself?
I think so. I mean, you were getting destroyed. So I wanted to let you have that.
Nothing scares me less than Mike Mussman. Are you kidding me? Do you got any more, or should we take a break?
I'll do one more.
One more.
We'll read through. I'm going to read a text here.
Oh, boy.
Has a general manager ever won a gold medal in the Stanley Cup in the same season? Is Bill Guerin going to get it done? It's a tall task. Certainly the gold medal is... I mean, I understand the Wild are the second highest team. We've been here before, where they're the highest regular season team, and it doesn't transition to the playoffs.
Do you agree with me, though? This is the best team in franchise history in 25 years. And there's been some great names, whether it be a Marian Gaborik, a Pavel Demitra, Brian Ralston, Pierre-Marc Bouchard. They've had great goaltending. They've had solid defensemen. But nothing in the history of this franchise compares to what's on the ice right now. Right?
Yeah.
But that guarantees you nothing. Because you look at the rest of the Central Division, the rest of the Western Conference, and then if you get through that, you got to deal with whoever emerges from the Eastern Conference. So you're guaranteed nothing. But that said, this is the best team in franchise history. Love to see them get out of the first round for the first time in more than a decade. But then you go over to the American side, and that's the best team that team has fielded since 1980. Their best opportunity to grab the third gold in the history of the country. But again, that guarantees nothing because Canada's pretty damn good. Sweden can win some hockey games. Finland's going to be good. Slovakia has already proven that they're going to be in that conversation. Czechia has a pretty good team. I don't know how you make a living off of gambling on sports, to be honest. I don't know how you figure out who's going to be. I know who the favorites are, and I know where the Wild are in the NHL. I know where the Americans are with the Olympic stage, and it's a tough road on both counts, but it can happen.
I've said that the most excited I've ever been for a Wild team making a run was the year Kaprizov and Fiala were both firing.
Yep.
I think they lost to Vegas that year, if memory serves. It was not good, but that was a team I was like, they have scoring power and depth, and you have two solid lines. And this team does have two solid scoring lines. Someone did text in 612. The Wild don't have the picks to get those big fish delusional take. They'll find a way. Let me tell you, they've got prospects. They've got guys they can trade. And they do need the big fish as well, in my opinion. But this is a team that absolutely trumps in talent that Kaprizov Fiala team, and it's more exciting for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. A lot of fun stuff to come, especially in the month of March, with in a number of different ways. But just 24 games left to go in the regular season for your Minnesota Wild as they make the march towards the Stanley Cup playoffs. We will make a march towards a top of the hour break. 2 hours in the books, another hour still to come as Fallness and Blakemore fill in for PA and Nordquist here on KFAN. When we continue, former Wild netminder Dwayne Rollison is next on The Fan.